What if a spacetime collapse, millions of years in the making, unleashed all prehistoric apex predators back into the modern world? How long could the modern food chain survive? On East Pacific beaches, dozens of phones shot up. People were just filming a distant pod of orcas approaching the shallows. 159 surviving orcas had fled Central City for the modern ocean, their dorsal fins ragged, their formations scattered, like a black and white legion fresh from battle. Yet, the next moment, the ocean surface in all their phone screens suddenly went dark. Beneath the orca pod, several colossal dark shadows rose from the depths. 20-meter-long megalodons simultaneously burst from beneath the orca pod. The lead dark shape clamped onto an orca, erupting from the water with its mangled prey. White foam and blood exploded. The next instant, the orca was brutally yanked back underwater, leaving only a swirling cloud of blood to spread across the surface. The phone screen jolted violently. In the distance, a second and third dark shape moved below the orca pod. Everyone realized it wasn't one megalodon, but an entire deep water ambush group. Before the crowd could even react, the sea surface on the right tore open once more. A 17-meter Hoffman Mosasaur erupted from the water. Its sleek, scaled body, like a colossal sea lizard, slammed into the orcas. Its long jaws clamped onto a wounded orca, ripping from the water before crashing back into bloody depths. Phone cameras shook violently. Screams drowned out the waves. The crowd, filming, retreated in panic. Some stumbled. Others rushed to grab children. Only then did everyone truly understand this wasn't just a whale pod coming ashore. It was all the prehistoric beasts returning alongside them. The rift from the 8th temporal reversal had burst wide open. All crossover points went haywire at once. This time, it wasn't ordinary individuals dragged back, but the peak mature specimens from every era. The orcas didn't suddenly weaken. They just lost the conditions to win. Their sonar was corrupted by temporal noise, their formations torn apart by ancient turbulence, and their stamina was already pushed to its limit in the last central bloodbath. Tactics need space, but the entire ocean is collapsing. Even worse, the orcas' most basic breathing rhythm was disrupted. Every time they break the surface, their dorsal fins are exposed, giving away their position. But if they're even half a second too slow, the flanking mosasaurs will force them back underwater. In the deep, megalodons. On the surface, mosasaurs. And from afar, the low-frequency calls of leviathan whales close in. For the orcas, their familiar ocean has become an inescapable underwater prison. Shore rescue teams halt at the edge of the shallows. Coast Guard patrol boats begin to retreat. On the radar, anomalous echoes pile up, filling the screen. Below the surface, it wasn't a single monster, but an entire ancient hunting ground on the move. Hoffman's Mosasaurs and Chronosauruses burst into modern waters from beyond the rift. Like rampaging heavy submarines, they tore through the orcas' defenses. The instant a Pterosaur snatched a straggling orca, the seawater churned blood red as fractured echoes, turbulence, blood stench mixed, utterly shattering their coordinated rhythm. The true slaughter wasn't happening on the surface, but in the silent depths where orcas were deafened. 20-meter-long adult megalodons simultaneously descended, flattening their bodies to hide within the most chaotic sonar layer. For killer whales, the true terror isn't seeing a megalodon. It is suddenly finding a deadly silence below them. That silence isn't safety. It means the deep ocean is holding its breath. The next moment, a dark shape surges from the depths. An adult killer whale is seized by its belly. Its massive jaws nearly sever it in half. Blood gushes from its torn chest and belly into the cold water as another megalodon slams into the pod from its flank. A killer whale has just turned. It was instantly flipped by the wake and shockwave, dragged into the churning blood. Another young orca attempted to stay close to its mother's flank, violently ripped away by turbulent currents, vanishing into murky depths. The pod, once protecting one another, was now torn apart by relentless ambushes. The orcas began emitting distress calls into distant waters, hoping to rally their scattered kin. But space-time noise tore through their sonar. Their echoes went out, only to be swallowed by the ocean, dying out midway. This time, no response came from their kin. Instead, they heard the leviathan whale's deeper, closer, low-frequency rumble. Several 17-meter, long-mazed leviathan whales bore down on them from the distance. Unlike megalodons that rampage or mosasaurs that grapple and tear, they use deep, resonant calls to systematically pinpoint and trap the surviving orcas. A wounded orca had just struggled free from the bloody water. A leviathan whale had already lunged head-on, its 30-centimeter bone-crushing teeth bare. IT clamped onto its flank and violently thrashed it. Its immense crushing bite tore straight through skin and flesh. Blood mist billowed through the water like a crimson veil. Its companion tried to turn back to help, but another leviathan whale drove it back from the flank. They couldn't save their fellow orca. Even getting close would give away their own positions. The orca pod tried to flee to deeper waters. Below, megalodons waited. Scattering to open sea meant mosasaurs on their flanks. If they regrouped, Leviathan's low-frequency calls drove them back to the shallows. They weren't defeated by one predator, but had all escape routes cut off by an ancient marine predatory system. Deeper still, a 25-meter giant ichthyosaur streaked past the turbulent currents. Its massive wake alone ripped apart the Orcas' fragile formation. A basilosaurus appeared through the bloodied water, preying on injured, stragglers, or slow to turn. A severely injured orca had just separated from the main pod, seized by its tail from behind, dragged into the murky water beneath the hidden reefs. The Dunkelstius, a heavily armored living guillotine, as the gravely wounded orca passed overhead. Jaws sprang open, thickening the bloody water. A Hoffman's Mosasaur had just seized the injured orca. From the deep, a saw shark slammed into its flank. The two oceanic tyrants from different eras briefly stalemated in the bloody water. No cooperation, no alliance. They were simply attacking the same prey. As the remaining orca was about to be overwhelmed, the modern ocean finally responded. Several blue whales, 30 meters long and weighing 150 tons, emerged from the cold depths like slowly moving islands, blocking the entrance to the shallows. They are not here to fight, nor can they plunge into the fray like predators. But when the largest beings on modern Earth simultaneously unleash their low-frequency calls, the acoustic landscape of the entire shallow water area is momentarily rewritten. The ancient whales project their omnidirectional calls one last time. Distant, scattered whale pods respond, but they are already too far away. The spatio-temporal noise, bloody waters, turbulence, and the Leviathan whales' low-frequency assault have carved the sea into an isolated island. It is not that they are alone, their companions cannot reach them. Humpback whales circle young, slamming pectoral fins against the surface. Sperm whales pressing from the flank, unleashing low-frequency sound waves, attempting to deter the ancient predators for a few seconds. Blue whales, humpbacks, and sperm whales cannot withstand these ancient hunting grounds. They could only create a brief sonic wall at the shallows, buying the last orca's precious second. Every second was invaluable. The last of the orcas surged into the shallows, gasping, dorsal fins mutilated, their bodies covered in lacerations. In the deep waters, a megalodon's dorsal fin slowly sliced through the bloody mist. A Mosasaur sleek, dark silhouette glided along the waves. The low-frequency calls of Leviathan whales still echoed beneath the waves. That 159 strong black and white legion once ruled the modern marine food chain, relying on their collective sonar and tactics. But now their formation is shattered, their members isolated. One by one, their fellows were dragged into the bloody depths. Only about 20 managed to reach the shallows. The ocean did not surrender. Modern rules had simply been reclaimed by the ancient past. This reckoning did not stop at the ocean. The rift began to spread to the land. It didn't randomly appear in the center of human plazas. Instead, it tore through estuaries, wetlands, ports, drainage canals, mangroves, and subterranean water networks. Egrets flew away in droves, and capybaras scrambled onto land. Giant otters screamed warnings. Modern caimans retreat, skimming the surface as the murky river roils. A 12-meter-long Pterosaurus emerges from the muddy water. A 10-meter-long Deinonychus opens its eyes in the drainage channel. 11-meter Geocroc rides the reservoir's undercurrents downstream. At the yacht dock, mooring lines suddenly tighten. A giant crocodilian snout rises from beside the hull. The metal guardrail twists. The entire yacht is dragged underwater. Ancient crocodilians don't need to hunt cars on land. They dominate estuaries, bridge piers, drainage outlets, and underground water networks. The city would simply shut down. Armored vehicles hunkered behind the levee, afraid to approach the water. Gas pipelines run beneath the bridge. Residential districts line the riverbanks. Oil depots stand behind the port. Humans have firepower, but can't deploy it without destroying the city in the process. The land's downfall feels far more stifling than the oceans or swamps. On the city's outskirts, it wasn't humans who first sensed trouble, but elephants. Adult female elephants shielded young in the middle, forming a tight defensive circle. At the far end of the road, 3 12-meter long, weighing 8 tons, an adult Tyrannosaurus rex emerged from the fog. The oppressive presence of the Cretaceous apex predator didn't need wild roars, nor did it need to pounce on its prey immediately. It merely needed to stand there. The modern terrestrial ecosystem was already beginning to unravel. Deer herds smashed through fences, and horses broke free from their reins. Police dogs barked furiously at the anomaly, only to tuck tails and retreat behind officers. Several Tyrannosaurus rexes lowered their heads, sniffing the unfamiliar scent in the air. Their massive hind legs lumbered onto the asphalt road. Every step, the tremor from the road traveled along guardrails, through car windows, and into chests. Seconds later, the lead T-Rex accelerated. It wasn't charging blindly, but exploded into action over a short distance, like a construction vehicle roaring to life. The elephant herd only held it back for about 10 seconds. It wasn't a fair fight, but a mother animal's last instinctive, desperate stand for its young. On the other side, 2 T-Rexes closed in from the highway's flank, thoroughly scattering the panicked herbivores and tourists. What truly made the city collapse was the sheer tonnage in downtown during evening rush hour. A taxi driver was stuck at an elevated ramp. Suddenly, the car jolted twice. Even the loose change on the dashboard bounced up. The driver looked up, past the windshield, Between the towering buildings, an enormous grayish-brown form slowly glided past. The next second, an impossibly huge foot landed in the intersection. The asphalt, road, and manhole covers collapsed simultaneously. Underground pipes burst instantly as if struck by a giant hammer. Several Argentinosaurs, 35 meters long and weighing 70 tons, like moving buildings, strolled directly through the city center. They weren't attacking anyone, not even noticing the toy-like vehicles beneath their feet. They were passing through. But modern cities were never designed for such tonnage. First step, the road gives way. Second, underground pipes burst. Third, the subway structure groans and snaps. Its long neck sweeps the edge of the block, and the overpass supports crumble like building blocks. Below the overpass, crowds evacuate. A school on the corner, a hospital next door, underground subway lines, and nearby a main gas pipeline. Every step the Argentinosaurus takes isn't just crushing a road, it is tearing a hole in the skeleton of a modern city. Their inaction makes them all the more terrifying. This isn't a battle, it is a structural collapse. Elsewhere in Telly County, a Triceratops topples a guardrail, and Ankylosaurus sprawls across the main road, its tail club sweeping. A fire truck side instantly caves in. A nearby T-Rex attempts to approach, but it stops short as the tail club swings again. It knew this was no ordinary prey, but a living tank wrapped in bone armor. The port and shallows, several 14-meter long adult Spinosaurus waded into the water, dividing the human blockade and ancient crocodile territory into a deadly zone. Anything that bleeds here will attract multiple predators. What truly brought the city to its knees wasn't the largest beasts at all, but rather several large feathered theropods. They were close to Utahraptor size, 6 to 7 meters long, and weighing nearly a ton. T-Rex can't get into shopping malls. Argentinosaurus can't get into underground parking lots. Spinosaurus wouldn't fit into subway stations. Yet here they are. In the underground parking lot, the roller doors slowly lower. Everyone believed the danger was still outside. Lights flickered. Low feathered figures swept between the parked cars. Claws scraped the ground. Car alarms blared, one after another. The mall's broadcast still repeated, "Please evacuate in an orderly fashion," but no one dared move below the escalator. What is truly terrifying isn't their size. It is that they can just fit into your world. Nor did the sky offer humanity any respite. Massive, unidentified echoes registered on the airport's control tower radar. Incoming passenger planes forced to go around. 11-meter wingspan Quetzalcoatlus swept over the terminal. In the distance, a Hatzegopteryx landed on a communications tower. Like a living crane perched on a tall building, fighter jets approached at low altitude from offshore. Their crosshairs were already locked on target. But beyond the crosshairs, it wasn't just empty sky, but an airport, residential buildings, hospitals, schools, and evacuating civilians. Tanks, armed helicopters, snipers, and drone swarms are already pressing into the city blocks. Modern firepower is anything but weak. Tank cannons, anti-armor missiles, autocannons, sniper rifles, drone swarms, and air-to-ground weapons from fighter jets. All of them could shred these creatures at the right distance. But the problem is, that optimal range no longer exists. A T-Rex is standing right next to a school. An Argentinosaurus is trampling the subway tracks. A Spinosaurus is hugging the port's oil depot. Pterosaurs sweep over hospital rooftops. Velociraptors already infiltrating underground parking and malls. The stronger the firepower, the greater the cost. Hitting the target could pierce residential buildings. Exploding a behemoth could ignite gas pipelines. Shooting down a pterosaur, its wreckage might crash into hospitals and airports. It is not that we can't defeat them, we just can't destroy the battleground and its people. But the most terrifying thing is this: distress calls from every region began to overlap. The coastline requested a lockdown, the port requested evacuation, the city hospital requested a protective power cut, the airport control tower requested the airspace be cleared. Sirens, radar alarms, drone, loss of signal alerts, and screams captured on dash cams all converged at that same moment. It is not that humanity didn't react. Humanity has reacted to its absolute limit. Yet this disaster, simultaneously, it bore down from the sea, the waters, the land, and the sky. The very moment every region spiraled out of control, every recording signal from the modern world flatlined. Beach phones, marine cameras, drone scans, dashcam footage, airport radar, all these fragments stopped pulsating in that very second. And the next, all footage was forcibly archived, consolidating into a single perspective. Twisted metal frames hang from between its teeth. It lifts its head and stares at you. The T-Rex's massive legs exploded forward. The asphalt cracked beneath its feet. A colossal shadow instantly engulfed your vision. Its abyss-like maw loomed inches from your face. You didn't retreat. You simply raised your right hand. The silver-black wristband pulsed with cold white light. Intricate metallic patterns spread along your hand, swiftly covering your hands. The next second, the T-Rex's sharp teeth tore down. A ring of cracks exploded across the transparent barrier before you. The first bite didn't pierce it. As the second bite fell, cracks already spiderwebbed across the barrier. It is not a shield, Just an emergency barrier from my wristband. It can only buy you half a second, and half a second is all I need. Before the third bite landed, fingertips slipped through the cracked light barrier, seizing the invisible edge of reality. Then you pulled it outward, smoothly. No explosion, no resistance. Only a faint whisper, like a scalpel slicing through glass. The entire world froze. The Tyrannosaurus Rex's massive jaws hung in midair. A distant Quetzalcoatlus was fixed against the sky's light at the city's edge. An Argentinosaurus's foot hung in midair, unable to fall. In that instant, the entire earth seemed to hit pause. In your hand, a cold white translucent slice appeared. Tyrannosaurus Rex, Quetzalcoatlus, Argentinosaurus, Megalodon, and Pterosaurs. Pre-modern life was compressed into ice blue silhouettes on the slice. They weren't annihilated, they were merely misplaced in time. With a slight twist of your fingertip, the anomalous time layer folded and compressed. It transformed into a cool white fingertip-sized data chip. The next instant, the modern world replayed. Car horns blared once more, and traffic lights cycled normally. Those who'd just been screaming looked around blankly. Taxi drivers gripped their steering wheels, as if they'd forgotten why they were afraid. Beachgoers looked down at their phones. Their screens now showed only the calm sea. No one remembered what had happened in those minutes. Only you knew. The entire blue star had nearly been ripped apart simultaneously by the overlords of every era. You stowed the files, moved through the crowd, and turned into a dead-end alley on the corner. Pushing open the old iron door, you found no hallway or clutter. Instead, a step away, staring at a herd of woolly mammoths moving in the distance. The other, the Cambrian deep sea, where there are no dinosaurs, no whales, nor any dominant land creatures familiar to humanity. Only a murky, icy, ancient ocean, so eerily unlike Earth. The compound eyes of an Anomalocaris glow in the darkness. Next time, the rules change. No longer will they come to our time. Rather, you will step into their era. Follow the high-dimensional species archive. See you in the next era.